Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to our gathering here at First Unitarian Universalist Church of Stockton. We're glad you've joined us and hope you will find here what you are seeking. We are a community of individuals holding many different beliefs, coming from many different places, and each progressing on our own journeys of life and faith. We join together in our commitment to care for humanity and in our efforts to shape a better, healthier, more accepting, more inclusive, and more hopeful world. We promise to accept and encourage all those persons of goodwill who gather here, recognizing that we all continue to grow and learn throughout our lifetimes. We especially welcome and stand with LGBTQ persons, even as we seek to welcome all persons of every age, ability, status, color, and ethnicity. We strive to make our community a place of peace and acceptance, love, and nurture, even as we challenge ourselves and others to live more faithfully according to the values of Unitarian Universalism. Our children's program is led by Michaela, who's assisted by Jessica, and any children are welcome to go out with them after the story. We'll sing them out. We are asking that, if possible, people continue to wear masks to protect those most vulnerable. I apologize that we seem to have run out of masks, so try not to breathe on anyone who might have any issues. You're going to look for some? Anyway, I really appreciate you all coming for my last service and sermon, and it's good to see you. Were there any announcements that need to be made?
Mary's not here. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that everybody is aware that we are having a wonderful gathering after the service, and it will be filled with fun, food, perhaps some chocolate, and to say farewell.
And music.
And music. Oh my gosh.
It's a surprise. I'm so loved.
And there's some beautifully decorated tables with interesting things that I didn't see in Jackson Hall when I came in. So anyway, it's good to be with you today. And we'll turn to Judy for the prelude.
Good morning. It's so nice to see so many of you that I haven't seen in a long time. Welcome back. I'm Jan Brunner-Howard. I'll be the worship associate today. And our opening words are written by our very own Reverend Klein. In an ever-increasing secular world, church often seems an anachronism held over from an earlier time. And yet millions of people around the globe claim to adhere to one faith or another. Unitarian Universalists claim a rational faith and have welcomed and included humanists, atheists, and agnostics for at least a century, in addition to including Christians, Jews, Buddhists, pagans, and others. We hold no creed or doctrine in common, but gather around humanistic principles and values. Thomas Jefferson thought Unitarianism would become the religion of the United States, but it didn't. Never large, UUism has held its own within the religious spectrum, at times offering the conscience of the U.S. Many UU congregations are struggling, and many will find themselves lay-led in the coming year and beyond. But there is something enduring about our religion. Perhaps it is our adaptability, perhaps our inclusiveness. that allows us to survive, even thrive in the face of challenges. UUism will change and change again to adapt to current realities, sometimes in ways we may not all like or support. Even so, UUism offers the world a point of hope to survive the struggles of the current moment and of the future. I'd like to invite Betsy up to light the chalice, and as she does that, let's read the chalice lighting words. Ready? We light our chalice today as a beacon of hope in these challenging times.
With my last brick in place and the final flower planted in my garden, I was ready for my family to move in. My timbers trembled in anticipation. I soon delighted in the pitter-patter of a baby's tiny feet on my floors. I swooned over the sweet scent of bread baking in my kitchen. I treasured the sound of laughter echoing down my hall. My family loved me, and I loved my family. I was more than a house, I was a home. I was their home. My family grew and grew. Each year the children were measured with marks on my hall door frame. Inches grew to feet. The soft pitter-patter turned into loud clumps. Sometimes I got a bit banged up, but my family always took care of me. The bustle of activity made me beam. Then one day it stopped. My family packed up all their things and swept me clean. They stood on my sidewalk waving to me with tears in their eyes, and then they drove away. I was confused. They must be coming back. Days went by. People came to look at me. They weren't my family. I couldn't let them in. When they walked up, I'd shake my roof shingles to the ground. I'd make my front steps creak. My shutters dangle on their hinges. Nobody ever stayed long enough to open my front door. Weeks passed, then months. My family never returned. Sorrow made my roof sad. My garden turned brown and filled with weeds. Tears ran down my windows, making them smudgy and smeared. Then a day came when two men walked up my driveway. One sprinted to my garden, admiring the daisies that had survived. The other bounded up my creaky steps and pushed on my door. I swelled it closed. He pushed even harder, and it sprang open, rattling my rafters with surprise. As the man walked across my floorboards, I made them squeak. "A few nails will fix this," he said cheerfully. I forced cracks to splinter up my walls, water to drip from my faucets. He ran his fingers over the cracks and turned the handles on my fixtures. "Nothing some spackle and washers won't fix." The other man joined him. "This house is perfect." My pipes warmed. Then they left. My Eve sighed in sorrow. A few days passed. They came back carrying paint and tools. I soaked the paint deep into my walls so the color didn't take. They kept trying. It took 3 coats before I grew tired and let the paint stay. They cleaned my windows and it felt so nice. They hung beautiful paintings and silky drapes. It looked so pretty I didn't have the heart to loosen the nails and send everything crashing to the floor. A big truck pulled up the driveway, bringing furniture and boxes. I wasn't sure I could be at home again. My lights flickered at the thought. The men tightened my light bulbs and kept unpacking. One day they walked through my front door carrying a baby. She giggled and my heart swelled. Soon the pitter-patter of tiny feet paraded across my floors again. Heavenly scents drifted from my kitchen, and laughter echoed in my halls once more. I loved this new family, and they loved me. I was at home again.
Many of you were here before I came. Several of you have come in the years I've been here. I thank you all for inviting me into your community and making community with me for all those who gather here. You're all beautiful, and I appreciate you. When church becomes a community, that's when I think it really succeeds. It isn't the money or the buildings, it's always the relationships. You've been here to listen to me and to each other. You've shared your stories and listened as I shared mine. We've built a community together, and I hope that community will live long and be welcoming to whoever comes to speak here in days to come. It is a sad time we gather, as many have mentioned, with the Supreme Court decisions. It will take the work of caring people, especially in states that are welcoming and open to those who come with needs, like California. You provide a tremendous witness to Stockton, into this area, into our country, by your strength and willingness to be there for each other. Even if you take some weeks or months off every year, even if you come only occasionally, the way that you build community does make a difference. And it makes a witness far beyond the walls of this church. Thank you for all you are, for all you have been to me. I love you all, no exceptions. Thank you. I invite you now to sing with me a song which became one of my favorites many years ago, Spirit of Life. The words are printed in the program.
Singing that really touched me, thinking of it in the context of what we're having today as a last time with our minister. Let's now turn to number 445 at the back of your hymnal, number 445, and the responsive reading is called The Room of Stars, and it was written by Joy Atkinson, one of this church's former ministers. And you are going to read the italicized words as I read the regular font. The womb of stars embraces us. Remnants of their fiery furnaces pulse through our veins.
We are the stars, the dust of the explosions cast across space.
We are of the earth. We breathe and live in the breath of ancient plants and beasts.
Their cells nourish the soil. We build our communities on their harvest of gifts.
Our fingers trace the curves carved in clay and stone by forebears unknown to us.
We are part of the great circle of humanity, gathered around the fire, the hearth, the altar.
We gather anew this day to celebrate our common heritage.
May we recall in gratitude all that has given us birth. At this time, we invite the sharing of gifts and offerings. We're not passing the plate again yet, so it's in the middle, but you can either make a donation as you wish or send a pledge in to the church office. If you are visiting, I don't know anyone that hasn't been here before, but if you were visiting, you would be our guest, and we would encourage you to just partake of our gathering. There's another reading I want to share with you. You can look as you wish. It's number 461 in the back of the hymnal. And I chose a lot of my favorite hymns and readings this time, and I've enjoyed getting to know Joy Atkinson, who wrote the one we shared a minute ago. And I got to know Reinhold Niebuhr through many of his writings. Some of you might know him as the author of the Serenity Prayer, but he also was an amazing theologian many, many years ago, like 1930s, and he really wrote for justice and hope for society. He wrote these words, I'm not sure where or when: we must be saved. Nothing worth doing is completed in our lifetimes. Therefore, we are saved by hope. Nothing true or beautiful or good makes complete sense in any immediate context of history. Therefore, we are saved by faith. Nothing we do, however virtuous, can be accomplished alone.
Therefore, we are saved by love.
No virtuous act is quite as virtuous from the standpoint of our friend or foe as from our own.
Therefore, we are saved by the final form of love, which is forgiveness.
Don't know why I haven't used that reading more often. Really has something to say. The title of the sermon is a bit final. Final reflections and farewell. As memories and thoughts. And it may be the last sermon I ever write. Back in my first year of college, 1975 and 76, at the University of Illinois, I took a world religions class from philosophy professor Harry Tebow, who I think was also a UU minister. Among the class readings, in the introduction to the Bhagavad Gita, introduction written by Aldous Huxley, I read about the perennial philosophy and how there are many paths up the mountain of truth, each valid for those following that path, and none particularly better than any other, except for being more familiar to those who were born into a particular path. That introduction to the perennial philosophy wasn't the start of my journey, but it was a point that helped redefine my personal quest. I actually learned quite a bit about world religions from Thibault's lectures and text and the stack of paperbacks of required reading for the course. But the many paths up the mountain of truth in the perennial philosophy was the one thing that particularly influenced my thought and stuck with me. And the words I describe it were my words more than his words, but that's where it came from. Geographically, the closest I ever was to living on top of the mountain was in my first church out of seminary, at 8,000 feet of altitude in Walden, Colorado, back when I could better stand the altitude. In my Western Methodist years, I often traveled through the Grand Tetons and Yellowstone. I have gone in or out through every public entrance, but in the years I was in Montana, I most often went through the north entrance from Gardiner, as I last did 3 years ago after General Assembly in Spokane. The Methodists also had one camp not far north of Gardiner, though I only helped with one youth camp at that site. Mostly worked at some of the other sites. I was sad to see the flooding in Yellowstone, but it is really only the road and several buildings that were damaged. The beauty and majesty of Yellowstone remains. The wildness of the natural world has reasserted itself. We do what we can to make a positive difference in the world, but many of our efforts can be washed away when the floods come. Unfortunately, too much of the residue of human industry continues to have a longer negative impact on the earth. Human efforts to tame the wilderness sometimes do get washed away. I was still in Montana in 1988 when millions of acres of Yellowstone burned, and I thought it would never be the same. Today it is hard to find the scars from that fire, as it will soon be hard to see the impact of recent floods. The natural world has amazing recuperative powers, if not pushed too far by human pollution. It's hard to find any place on Earth that has not been affected by human beings. Out in space, beyond the Earth, the impact of human beings, however, is barely noticeable. The science fiction inspired by the Star Wars and Star Trek universes may someday come to pass, but the universes and multiverses beyond Earth will not soon be conquered by Earthlings. Until that happens, there will be universes aplenty to discover and explore. There are also universes to discover within human psychology and the biology, chemistry, and physics of Earth. Within the religions of Earth, there are more universes to explore and discover. The anthropology, archaeology, and philosophy of religion are also fascinating fields of exploration and discovery. In every field of endeavor, there are universes yet to be discovered and explored. If only we had the energy of youth, spread across several lifetimes, think what amazing things we might discover. I love to read about new discoveries. I always thought I would take more classes, learn new things, travel to new places. If only I had more energy. I've enjoyed working with you over these 9 years. We have journeyed together. You're a friendly, welcoming, interesting, and supportive congregation with a strong history and an open-ended future. I wish you only the best in the days to come. whether you find a minister soon or must find guest speakers to share interesting ideas for a while. This week has been auspicious in another less favorable way. Supreme Court, packed by neoconservatives by Trump, has struck down Roe v. Wade after 50 years protecting health care for women. History tells us that there won't likely be fewer abortions, but there will be far more deaths of poor women who won't be able to access the safe health care, including abortions, that has been available for half a century. If Republican ideologues had really been concerned about women and children, they might have tracked the declining numbers and tried to understand the medical, psychological, and sociological factors that were making abortions far less frequently the choice of women who had options. With those options removed, there will certainly be more back alley abortions and more deaths. And of course, Republicans have offered little or nothing to women to care for those precious fetuses once they are born and need to be fed and housed. This is not progress, but at least there are states like California that will continue to protect the rights and safety of women. You all keep fighting for justice. I'll work on making Arizona a little more progressive. Since I've been telling you for at least 2 years that I'll be retiring, there isn't that much that I haven't already said 3 or 15 times. But I guess maybe I have a couple things left to say. I know a lot of you are tired, and many of you have retired, but you have an amazing little church in a diverse and interesting city. You may remember that I worked with the Bakersfield Fellowship several years back, and you should know that during my years with you, I have also gotten acquainted with Sacramento, Modesto, and Fresno. If I were choosing between all the bigger cities of the valley, I would choose Stockton. You have good access to the mountains and the ocean, as promised by my search committee, to Yosemite and San Francisco. You are amazingly diverse and interesting, and relatively affordable. In any of the valley towns, the UU churches are the places to be, but you will always have a piece of my heart. You gathered to help me move in when I arrived from Arkansas, and you have been coming to help me pack and load up to move to Arizona for my retirement. I know the finances are challenging, but I hope you will see a way to pay a full-time minister in the near future. You have been generous with your time, energy, and financial support over the years, and I hope you will find new enthusiasm to bring your next minister to Stockton. I understand that you are going to take a few weeks off in the heat of July to give your lay worship leaders a bit of a break. Hopefully any summer newcomers to town will understand and come back in August or September. You probably will want to put some signs on the doors and a note on the website. One of the stories I heard about for the summer closings, once so common among Unitarian churches, was that God trusted them to skip church during the summer. Well, all those sinful Christians needed their dose of religion every week. In any case, I hope that the board will have arranged for at least part-time ministry by this fall. In the last couple of years, the world has changed. The COVID-19 pandemic really hit churches hard, and having solely in-person religious services may never again fill the needs of older and younger, differently able, and less healthy individuals. Together, we have made some progress in Zooming and recording services, but there is much more that could be done with currently affordable technology. I hope that you will continue to explore those options to reach folks that won't come in person. Putin's war in Ukraine has brought back memories of an earlier era in human existence, or at least what many of us hope was an era now past forever. To survive the global changes wrought by 3 centuries or more of air and water pollution and deforestation, it will take a worldwide effort at cooperation. Recent fires and floods have silenced almost all the doubters around climate change, but still have not changed corporate patterns quickly enough to slow the progression of storm intensification, desertification, and drought and fires. The Trump-era neoconservative majority on the Supreme Court and allied Republican legislators are attempting to turn back the political clock 50 or more years without addressing current problems like mass shootings in schools and elsewhere, and the lack of adequate health care, especially for women and children. Overturning the concealed carry limits in New York and Roe v. Wade both are disasters for everyone, and the likely coming attacks on same-sex marriage and the rights of LGBTQ+ persons all are taking us into a very dangerous time in this country. 50 years of progress gone in an instant. The passage of additional checks on gun purchases by 18 to 21-year-olds, the extra funding for school security and mental health hardly make up for all that has now been lost. UU congregations and other persons of goodwill must stand up against all these negative forces. There are too many dragons to be fought for any of us to rest easy, whether working or retired. I know many of you, like me, have run out of energy to lead the battles coming. But we must continue to stand with and support those who will carry on. I know that you will continue to do all that you can to make a difference and to support those who will lead the struggles to come. Your efforts have helped to make a difference in years past, and they will again in years to come. I leave you with the charge to do all that you can to shape a better, healthier, and more accepting world. As I prepare to leave for the wilds of the desert, to spend more time with my children and grandchildren, I go with deep appreciation for your support and for our shared ministry. We obviously haven't fixed all that needs to be fixed in the world or even in Stockton, but we have continued to provide a safe and welcoming place for many people. We have continued a long history of commitment to justice in society. We have offered a real community for all those who decided to sojourn with us during their time in Stockton. I know that you will continue all those wonderful things and that you will welcome your next minister with the generosity and love that you have shown to me during our years together. I thank you, and I offer you my blessing and encouragement for whatever will come next for First Unitarian Universalist Church of Stockton. I also offer my blessings for your individual journeys, along with my hope that we will meet again. Fare ye well. Shalom, salam, blessed be, namaste, and amen. Thank you. Rather than bringing the microphone around now, since there's a party coming and I hear there's chocolate, hopefully we'll get chances to speak there. So I invite you to turn to the closing hymn, which I think is one of your favorites as well as mine, 1064 in the Blue Book, Blue Boat Home. Please stand as you are able. Will you connect with those around you as you are comfortable? May this congregation always be dedicated to the proposition that behind all our differences, beneath all our diversity, there is a unity that makes us one and binds us forever together, in spite of time and death and the space between the stars. We pause in silent witness to that unity. Theodore Parker said, "Be ours a religion which like sunshine goes everywhere, its temple all space, its shrine the good heart, its creed all truth, its ritual works of love, its profession of faith, divine living. Go out, live well, build a better world, enjoy the love of this community. Thank you. Go in peace. Amen. Will you connect with those around you as you are comfortable? May this congregation always be dedicated to the proposition that behind all our differences, beneath all our diversity, there is a unity that makes us one and binds us forever together, in spite of time and death and the space between the stars. We pause in silent witness to that unity. Theodore Parker said, "Be ours a religion which, like sunshine, goes everywhere. Its temple, all space. Its shrine, the good heart. Its creed, all truth. Its ritual, works of love. Its profession of faith, divine living. Go out, live well, build a better world. Enjoy the love of this community. Thank you. Go in peace. Amen."